Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you will please call the roll. And read the statement.
Please be advised, this meeting is being taped for video and audio broadcast. Assisted listening devices are available. Mr. Bonifant.
Here.
Mr. Porcello.
Here.
Mr. Hempstead.
Here.
Mr. Kimmel.
Here.
Mr. Sacchinelli.
Here.
Ms. Melendez.
Here.
Mr. Sarasis.
Present.
Ms. Bowman. Mr. Sims.
Present.
Mr. Kites.
Here.
Ms. Maggio.
Present.
Mr. DePalma.
Here.
Ms. O'Toole Gianderco.
Here.
Mr. Igneri.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
14 present.
14 present. We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda, the acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 24th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Igneri moves. Any corrections, omissions, deletions, additions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Public participation, clerk?
There's no one signed up.
No one has signed up to address the council. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council at this time? Seeing none, we will close the public participation session. There are no resignations or appointments this evening. Under the mayor's remarks, I have two. One is congratulations, a hearty congratulations to the Norwalk High School Marching Band, who this past weekend won the national championship at MetLife Stadium with a remarkable score of 97.775, probably one out of 100. And they marched, I think they went on at 10:50 in the evening. So that's after practicing during the day, trip to MetLife Stadium, waiting around, and they still, in the cold, and they still scored a 97.775, a remarkable accomplishment. And I know that I would like to thank the marching bears, the students who work so hard, the parents who really step up and make the program what it is by volunteering their time, loading equipment, putting it back in the truck, and supporting the team, and certainly the staff at Norwalk High School. It shows that our music program in the Norwalk Public Schools is a remarkable program. And again, congratulations. I'm sure we'll find some way to properly recognize them over the next couple of weeks and let them know we appreciate for them putting Norwalk on the map once again. And they competed with bands from all over the United States, not just Connecticut, not just New York or New Jersey, but from all over the United States, and they did a remarkable job. So thank you to the Norwalk High School Marching Bears. The other thing is, as many of you know, certainly people on the panel here know, tonight is the last night, the last council meeting for people that we've worked with for the last 2 years, people who gave of their time for very little pay and worked very hard to make Norwalk the best that it can possibly be. I can say that we've had a wonderful relationship, a great working relationship. I have the greatest respect for all the people on this council and the people that are not going to be serving another term, either through their own choice or others. We will miss them. We will miss their institutional wisdom. We will miss their participation and their dedication to the function of what they were elected to do. That is Shannon O'Toole Gianderco, Michelle Maggio, Rich Bonifant, Mike DePalma, Steve Sarasis, and Bruce Kimmel. So I want to thank them for their service, thank them for being good partners, thank them for being civil, for discussion, civil discourse that took place. Again, you've done a remarkable job. The citizens of Norwalk also owe you all a wonderful thank you for your service, and I think you deserve a nice round of applause as well. And with that, I will turn the next item over to the Council President, Mr. Igneri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first piece of business under the Council President was to say a lot of the things that Harry just said. So very, very little to add. I've enjoyed working with you all, and it was a good time. We've had some ups and downs, but it was a good time. We've done a lot of good things for the city working together, and I will miss you personally. And to recognize your leaving, we have a plaque for everyone, which I will.
I thought you were just going to give us our name tags that are right here.
You have those too.
In your case, that's what you're getting.
Oh, thanks.
So after the end of the evening, I have a nice plaque for each.
Why don't we do it now? Have them,
You want to do it now?
yeah, have them come up in the front, and we can thank them personally.
It's not. Michelle Nashville first. Mike DePalma.
Come around this way, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Been a great teamwork. Thank you, Steve.
Mike.
Oh, you're welcome.
Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're much easier.
Last but not least.
Thanks.
Good working.
I was going to say, I have a collection of names.
Thank you, Michelle.
You have like 30.
Thank you, Bruce.
I almost ran you over the other day. I was like, oh, I just almost ran over Bruce Kimmel. We were walking to the tree across. I didn't stop for the pedestrian. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
With that, we'll get back to the consent calendar. And she's done such a stellar job during her term, backed by popular demand.
With tears in her eyes.
Shannon O'Toole, Gian Durko will read the consent calendar.
Thank you, John. Okay, consent calendar. Item 6A1, Corporation Counsel, authorization to settle claims, Eddie Florenstadt versus Michael John Pugliese. Item 7A1, approve proposed revisions to the solicitor ordinance, Chapter 77-15 through 77-26. Item 2, approve proposed revisions to the solicitor forms applications. Both of these items are as amended at the meeting that was held earlier this evening, and the effective date of the ordinance is January 1st, 2018. Item B2, and this is a typo, it says 3, but it should be item 2. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the on-call architectural services agreement with Silver Petroselli Associates relating to the school facilities improvement plan to increase the contract by $14,861. Account is noted. Item B3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Newfield Construction, Inc. as the construction manager for the Ponus Ridge School new PK-8 STEM School renovation and addition project. Terms of the agreement shall include the following: pre-construction phase services, including reimbursable allowance, $102,000, CM fees, 1.2%, and CM contingency, 1.5%. Following the bidding process, final contract price will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Count is noted. Item B4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the Downs Construction Company, LLC, as the construction manager for the construction of the new South Norwalk School project. Terms of the agreement shall include the following: pre-construction phase services, including reimbursable allowance, $110,000, CM fees, 1.55%, CM contingency, 3%. Following bidding process, final contract price will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Account is noted. Authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders. on Herbert Recovery Systems LLC contract for contaminated soil removal at Oak Hills Park for an additional allowance not to exceed $16,000. Account is noted. Item 6A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with the Norwalk Glass Company for the installation of replacement windows at NECC Roosevelt Center for a total not to exceed $72,042. Account is noted. Item 6B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $7,204. Personnel Committee, item C1, approve tentative agreement between City and NASA. Item C2, approve tentative agreement between City and NMEA. Item C3, approve tentative agreement between City and Local 2405. C4, approve tentative agreement between City and Grants. C5, approve ordinance July 1st, 2017 annual pay adjustments. Public Works Committee, item D1, authorize the Director of Public Works, Bruce Chimento, to execute orders on contract with PJF Construction Corp. for state project number 102-1319, rehabilitation of Perry Avenue Bridge over Norwalk River for sum not to exceed $360,000. Accounts are noted. Authorize the Director of Public Works, Bruce Chimento, to execute orders on contract with Deering Construction Company for project number RD 2016-1, concrete curbs and sidewalks at various locations for a sum not to exceed $34,280. Account is noted. Item D3, this is consent to add to the agenda. Authorize the purchase of a 2016 Ford Transit Connect survey van. And item D4, also consent to add, authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford Explorer. And with that, that is the consent calendar, and I urge for its adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Ian-Durko. Does anyone have any issues or changes to the consent calendar as read? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I turn the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Igneri. Mr. Livingston, item 7B1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move the item and speak to it in a moment. Item B1, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a First Amendment to the amended and restated lease agreement with the Maritime Aquarium at Norwalk, Inc., dated December 4, 2014, in order to address the impact of the state's Walk Bridge project on the leased property and to incorporate the aquarium's proposed improvement plan for the property. As we all recall, last meeting we approved an improvement plan for the Maritime Aquarium, which would enable them to move forward in the face of the Walk Bridge project. This is to amend the lease, the current lease, to basically reflect that action, as well as to provide more of the mechanics of how this will be done in terms of the relationship between the Maritime Aquarium and the city, as of what we know now. It's described in the attachment, and I would point to a couple of things, then propose a brief clarification / amendment. 3 important points. First is that the parties, meaning the city, acknowledges that the state will award compensation for the functional replacement of the building improvements necessitated by the Walk Bridge project, and those funds will go to the Maritime Aquarium as they become available. These are payments based upon replacement of the facility itself. Funds outside of that, which are other funds received by the state, not necessarily for the functional replacement, are to go to the city. And on that point, I'd like to propose an amendment to clarify that point in the resolution, because there's a lease, a draft of a lease, which unfortunately was not circulated, that currently provides that those funds, the funds that are not for the functional replacement, may be retained by the landlord. And I think it's the intention that any additional funds that the Maritime Aquarium receives will come back to the city, and the city at that point will decide how we want to use them. Right now, there is no obligation in this lease for the city to provide any funds to do anything else, but this will make it clear that any extra funds, we will have the opportunity to review it. So I'd like to propose that the resolution that we have provides that any funds received from the landlord, meaning the city, in connection with the Walk Bridge project, other than for functional replacement, shall be retained by the landlord. And with that, I'll open up discussion.
Further discussion? Mr. Crisello.
How does that differ from what was in the memo? Because
The memo is a description of the lease, but the actual terms of the lease, which I just got, use the word "may be retained by the landlord." We're just being clear that, it's not the precision that you've seen in a lease, Mike.
okay.
So, as I said, the language in the current lease draft says the tenant agrees that any funds received by the landlord from the state in connection with the Walk Bridge project, other than is described in section 2A above, which is the functional replacement, may be retained by the landlord. What I'm effectively doing is changing the may to the word may to word shall.
So basically, the contract will now mirror the memo.
Yes, I think that's correct. That's the intention, yes.
Okay.
Further discussion? Mr. Bonifant?
Oh, thank you. I hate to bother you, but could you come down, Ms. Jacobson? And I know Mario worked on this a lot too, so I'm sure you'll be able to chime in on a couple of questions. I didn't mean it. Go ahead. Just want to hear it clearly that currently the city owns the land, the city owns the buildings, and any new structures the city will still own, right?
Yes.
Okay, needed to hear that. I know that you stated in committee that the last time the lease came around, and when they restructured it to their only obligation was to maintain the buildings and the land, that $35 million debt was forgiven at that point. They don't, that was part of that. They don't owe us any money, you're saying. I thought that from the original construction loan,
Correct.
when I remember voting no on that one, but at the time when they had, when they restructured the lease, when the building was paid off, the loan was forgiven, and they're starting from scratch, and they have, the one obligation is to maintain the structure in the land, right?
Correct.
And that will continue through any new structure built. It'll still be the city's, and they have to maintain it. That's
Yes, that's not being
okay.
changed.
Okay, just wanted that clear. The one part that on section 1 and 4, I have two basic questions. And I know Mario kind of disagreed with me, but I thought that personally, I think that the city ought to hold on to the money and disperse it as it goes, as opposed to just giving it to the Maritime Center and hoping for the best.
Wait, I'm finished.
But that's okay. And on number 4, even though Mr. Livingston just talked about any extra funds coming our way that the city will hold on to, number 4 kind of like leaves us hanging when it comes up short. And it says, when it comes up short, we'll deal with that when it happens.
Well, basically, we're not responsible. The city has no responsibility under this.
Well, we are, because if they don't pay, just like the first time, if they don't pay, we do. There's no question about that, all right? So that's my point.
One thing we briefly discussed before the meeting, with regard to why the funds are going, with regard to the functional replacement directly to the aquarium rather than through the city. It was the city's position, it was certainly my suggestion, my recommendation that the city not act as a pass-through. So I had a long conversation with DOT today on this. They would certainly prefer to write a check for the taking of the building rather than to replace it. But we qualify, because it happens to be city-owned land, the aquarium qualifies to be, or at least the theater portion of it that's being demolished, qualifies to be rebuilt as part of the functional replacement process. So where the value to the city may have been $20 million, the cost of replacement is probably over $40 million. So if you have the choice between getting paid $20 million and then going to rebuild it yourself, or getting paid the cost for or allowing the DOT to fund the reconstruction of it, you're going to pick the latter because you're going to get twice as much essentially, or be obviously a lot less than having to come up with a $20 million shortfall. Because time is of the essence with regard to the construction of the project, we didn't want it to be held up from having the funds go to the city and then going to the aquarium. And then you also have multiple wires of funds, significant funds, going back and forth. We wanted to avoid that. So that's why the funds with regard to the functional replacement of the improvements will be paid directly to the aquarium. They're not making any money on it. It's just the bills essentially are getting paid by DOT. Now, with regard to the land, whatever funds are going to be received for the 2 easements that are being taken by DOT will be paid to the city.
Okay, no, and I understand your point. It's just that, you know, it happened once before, big time, $35 million worth, that they just laid back and let the cosigner pay the note, and we were. And that's how it worked.
And by the way, we haven't signed the city hasn't signed the contracts for the construction companies either. That was another concern we had. The aquarium is retaining the companies to construct the new theater. One concern I had was having the funds come to the city, having us be a responsible party under an agreement with the construction company. We're essentially out of that process.
I'm okay with.
So the concern about the city being on the hook is one that I'm not concerned about, to the extent that there's a commitment from DOT to fund the functional replacement of the theater.
Right, but if the costs go over for like extra things in there that they were hoping for and was past the functional equivalent, and they don't pay it, even though they say they're gonna, if they don't, we do. Let's just be clear about that. Thanks.
But
Further discussion?
Mario's point was that the contractual obligation is on the aquarium and not on the city. The aquarium is incurring liability under the contracts directly with the architects, the engineers, and the construction contractors.
Right, but if they don't pay it, we do.
The city has no obligation.
Oh, what are you gonna do, let them foreclose on your property? We own the property.
There may, at some future date, be a request from the aquarium for some funds from the city, depending on how things go throughout this process.
That's what I was getting at. Go ahead.
Mr. Hempstead?
I want to thank Mr. Livingston for adding that in. I think it's an important part that the council and the mayor, at the end of the day, have function moving forward with any compensation from the state. Just for clarity, though, because we don't have the whole lease, all the other aspects of the lease stay in place.
That's correct.
And I think that's what Mr. Bonifant was kind of alluding to, but what was an important issue in the last lease, that they own the envelope of that building, too. In other words, they're responsible for structural, they're responsible for the roof. Usually a landlord is, and if I remember the new lease, that will still be maintained with the IMAX Theater also?
Yes.
That still stays in place, okay?
Yes.
Further discussion?
Yeah.
Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Okay,
This is as amended, right?
as amended. Sorry, as amended. 13 in favor, 1 opposed. Mr. Igneri.
Thank you.
Oh, one thing I forgot. We have our Democratic Town Committee Chair here whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, Ed. 39 again. Mr. Igneri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the item added to the agenda is to authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Crowley Ford LLC for the purchase of one 2018 Ford Explorer for the sum not to exceed $30,806.64, based on the state of Connecticut contract number duly noted. And 2, to purchase one 2016, I will add new 2016 Ford Transit Connect van for a sum not to exceed $23,346.27, also on the state of Connecticut contract, same number.
You moving the item?
I moved the item. It was added the last minute because These prices are very good, excellent, and finding a 2016 van that's never been used is excellent. So we decided to add it now, at the last minute, to make sure it went through. We didn't lose the price. So with that, any questions?
Mr. Mary moves it. Any discussion? All in favor?
What you missed, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Corsello.
Is it budgeted?
Yes, I'm sorry. It is budgeted, so it's in the budget.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. Mr. Igneri?
Welcome to adjourn.
That's what I'm asking.
I want to give that to Michelle.
Somebody else wants to do that?
Michelle.
Is it my turn?
Wait, Mr. Hempstead?
Oh, Doug has his hand up.
Well, I think the majority, from the minority side, I want to thank Service, Mr. Rassis. Mr. Kimmel, you and I go back quite a few centuries. I'm certainly going to miss my colleagues to the right for a lot of reasons.
Three anyway.
I just want to thank all those who service.
I think Ms. King has an answer to that.
It's the yeoman's job that you don't get a lot of thanks for, but it's necessary, and we're doing the people's work. And I thank them for their time and effort they put into it.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Mr. Bonifant, you are more than welcome to say something.
I just want to say it was great working with all of you, and I had a good time, and we'll be friends forever, so thanks a lot.
Oh, no, you call that?
BFF?
Yeah.
Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for your patience and understanding and your civility. I will be next door if you need me. And let me say, Doug is right. We've been in sometimes on the same side, sometimes on opposite sides. And afterwards, we always smile and shake hands, and that's how it should be. But I have to add, Doug, I do apologize. I know without me here, it's going to be a lot more boring for you. But nothing I can do about that. So good luck. For what it's worth, Doug served on a council where it was 13-2. So he has some familiarity with how you do it. One, it's a little bit different, but good luck. I think you'll manage.
Ms. Otulji-Ndurko?
Thank you all. It's been a great 4 years. I gave birth on the council. Luckily not here for everybody involved.
For all of us.
But I really enjoyed my time, and I have to say thank you to Doug, because without him, I wouldn't be here. So you're going to do a good job.
Mr.
And
De
you're going to
Palma?
call us.
So, yeah, I want to thank everyone. I didn't know most of the folks on the council before I joined, but as Rich mentioned, you spend a lot of long hours together. You get to know a lot of people. So, now I'll be one of the angry people calling you up.
We still have all your cell phone numbers.
That's right.
Mr. Sarasis?
I'd also like to thank everybody here in the city and the people of Norwalk. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve. And it's kind of funny, in 14 days I'm going to be dealing with a completely different government.
There you go.
Completely different issues on the other side of the world.
Ms. Maggio?
Well,
China in 14 days.
I was telling everybody earlier that I'm glad I didn't choose to run this time because I don't handle rejection well. So, I technically didn't lose. I'm a big winner here, Mike and I. But 6 years. 6 years, I missed a lot of baseball games and dive meets, and I had fun. I felt like I was doing something. I probably wasn't, but I'm prioritizing my little kitties now. So thanks, guys, for working with me, even working against me, ladies. And good luck to all of you for the next 2 years.
Thank you.
We'll be calling.
Mr.
Let me add to this love fest. We've been through thick and thin, ups and downs. I mean, I spent more time with most of you than my own family, and we'll have a bond that'll last forever, I think. And Michelle, I got to point you out specifically. We've represented East Norwalk for 4 years, and we've gotten close. Our family's gotten close. I know, and I envy you. You'll have all this time on your hands, and know my.
In your bow, if you take me out on
There
it.
you go. And my wife's always looking for a tennis partner, so enjoy.
I have more time for it now. Thanks, guys. Thanks, John.
Any other comments from the council? Again, thank you all. It's been a wonderful 2 years.
My
4
very
years.
last.
Pardon me?
My very last motion
Yeah,
to
go for it.
adjourn.
Okay, go for it.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Congratulations.